Good day, students. My name is Faniyi Sunday Olateju, your literature teacher. Our topic for today's literature is the analysis of non-African play titled Look Back in Anger by John Osborne. Lesson objectives. At the end of the lesson, students will be able to discuss the characters and their roles in the play, identify the themes of the play, explain the events in the play, and analyze the play in terms of dramatic techniques. Lesson introduction. Look Back in Anger refers around the fiery tempered young man of working class origin called Jimmy Potter and his reserved upper class wife called Ssce Potter. Other notable characters in the play are Jimmy's friend called Cliff Lewis, Ssce's friend who is Elena Charles, and Ssce's father Colin Redinfan. Plot summary. In order to make the play easy for you to understand, I divide it into 4-part analysis. Part 1 is titled Jimmy's Overbearing Attitude. The play starts in Jimmy and Ssce's attic flat, which they share with Cliff Lewis, who is a young working man that runs a small candy shop with his host, Jimmy. It is a Sunday morning in April. Jimmy and Cliff are reading the Sunday newspapers while Ssce is ironing clothes. Jimmy's overbearing attitude is demonstrated when he tries to ridicule Cliff because of his working class status and low intelligence. Also, the fiery tempered Jimmy condemns his wife Ssce's upper class, her family background, and her brother who is a member of parliament. When Jimmy pushes Ssce while she's at the ironing board, Ssce is burned. After the incident, Jimmy leaves the flat. Ssce tells Cliff that she is pregnant with Jimmy's child. Ssce is afraid of what will be Jimmy's reaction if she tells him. Part 2 is titled Arrival of Elena Charles and Departure of Ssce Potter. Immediately Jimmy comes back, Cliff leaves to get some cigarettes. Ssce and Jimmy engage in their romantic game of beer and squirrel. Elena Charles, who is Ssce's friend, informs the couple of her intention to come and stay with them, but Jimmy kicks against the idea. As Elena arrives, Ssce narrates her ugly experiences in marriage, starting from the time they live with Jimmy's working class friend called Huitana, who later travels out, leaving his mother and the couple. Ssce's emphasis on her sovereigns and oppressions in marriage prompts Elena to invite Colin Redinfan, who is Ssce's father, to come and rescue his daughter from the abusive home. Colin Redinfan comes and takes Ssce away. Part 3 is titled Immorality in Jimmy's Matrimonial Home. After Jimmy reads the goodbye letter of Ssce, he becomes angry, but Elena declares that Ssce is pregnant. As Jimmy does not bother about Ssce's pregnancy and insults Elena, Elena, slaps Jimmy, but when she discovers Jimmy's sad mood, she passionately kisses Jimmy and they fall on bed. In another scene, the two friends, Jimmy and Lewis, are reading Sunday newspaper as before, while Elena is ironing clothes, wearing Jimmy's red shirt. Jimmy is notably more pleasant to Elena than he was to Ssce. Elena laughs at Jimmy's jokes, and the three of them, Jimmy, Cliff, and Elena, attend a music hall comedy routine. Clive Lewis decides to leave finally for another place. We will pause here. Students, don't go away. Students, welcome to the second segment of today's lesson. Continuation of plot summary. Part 4 is titled The Reconciliation. As Jimmy leaves the room to prepare for the night out for the three of them, he opens the door to find Allison looking like a skeleton. Allison has lost her baby and looks sick. The two women reconcile, but Elena realizes that what she has done is immoral and she decides to leave immediately. The play ends with a sentimental reconciliation as Jimmy and Allison revive their old game of bears and squirrel. Another item is the thematic preoccupation of the play, a betrayal of trust. The role played by Elena Charles depicts a backstabbing. Having been presented as a friend in need is a friend indeed. Elena betrays Allison by cunningly deceives her to leave her husband, Jimmy, and she, that is Elena, turns back to flirt openly with the same man. Another theme is class consciousness. Allison and Jimmy's relationship is the play's focus where class conflict erupts. Allison comes from the upper class background, while Jimmy's social class places him at the working class level. Although Jimmy attended a low-profile university, unlike Allison and his brother Nigel, who attended prestigious Sandhurst University. Jimmy believes that Nigel is stupid because of his insensitive nature to the needs of others. Also, Allison's mother is a class-conscious monster who used every strategy to prevent Allison from marrying Jimmy. The pathological anger of Jimmy against everybody is because of the class system he finds himself. Equal opportunities in terms of national benefits are not given to the lower class because their welfare is treated with contempt. Another theme is the crisis of identity. The people that surround Jimmy, like Allison, Elena, and Colin Redinfan, are from the upper class of society, but his friends like Lewis and Turner are from working class level. Hence, Jimmy's fiery temper against other characters are based on his internal identity crisis coupled with inferiority complex, which Jimmy manifests through anger. Despite his university education, Jimmy does not seem to belong to any class in the society. Colin Redinfan considers it as an aberration for an educated young man like Jimmy to operate a sweet store business. Another theme is psychological distress in marriage. Jimmy and Allison's marriage is destroyed from the beginning because of Allison's parents' disapproval of the marriage and because of class difference between husband and wife. Jimmy hates the upper class and pours abusive utterances on his wife and her family. Allison is tired of Jimmy's irrational behavior and narrates her marital ugly experiences to Elena, who takes unfair advantage of her. The temporary dissolution of the marriage, as organized by Elena, gives Jimmy much opportunity to abuse it. Jimmy's inability to resist amorous advances from Elena that he begins to sleep with her. Another theme is hypocrisy. Elena attends church regularly but finds pleasure in sexual immorality, which church condemns. She openly flirts with Jimmy. She kisses him passionately and sleeps with Jimmy. Students, don't go away. In the next segment, we will consider the style of the play. Students, welcome to the last segment of today's lesson, which is style. Style is divided into use of language and dramatic techniques. Language first. A. Character differentiation through language. The characters' speeches reflect their socio-economic classes and education. In other words, the characters can be identified by their speeches. Cliff is humble and his Welsh accent is clearly understood from his speech. Elida and Allison's speeches are polished, refined, and reserved to reflect their education and upper class. Jimmy's hot temper is carried to his impolite use of language, as when he condemns Colin Redinfan poetically as, beginning of quotation, a study hold plans left over from the Edwardian wilderness, end of quotation. Use of bombastic language. The bombastic language is characterized by high-sounding but unimportant and meaningless words, as when Jimmy belittles Allison and her family in disrespectful words. He says, beginning of quotation, "And don't let these marquess of Queensberry Manor fool you. They will kick you in the groin while you are handling your heart to the maid. They are what they sound like: sycophantic, phlegmatic, and postmillennials." End of quotation, page 19. Now, dramatic techniques. A. Flashback technique. Most prominent examples are: 1. Jimmy was 10 years old when his father died in the British-Spanish War. He says, beginning of quotation, "I watched my father die when I was 10 years old." End of quotation, page 79. 2. In the past, Colin Redinfan served his military career in India. 3. In the early marriage of Jimmy and Allison, they shared the apartment of Huitana before they moved to the present location. B. Use of symbols. Newspaper is a symbol of education. Jimmy uses newspaper article to berate Cliff as a low intelligent person and to condemn the upper class. Also, newspaper symbolizes Jimmy's ignorance because he could not understand some words in the papers. 2. Cliff and Elena's are symbols. Cliff symbolizes a lamb and peace as he continues to maintain peace in the troublesome home of Jimmy and Allison. Elena is a symbol of betrayal because she seduces Allison's husband and flirts with him. C. The use of irony. Some examples are: 1. Jimmy, with his university education, is supposed to be working in the ministry, but ironically, he uses his university certificate to run a candy shop. 2. Elena is supposed to be an impeccable character because she attends the church always. Ironically, Elena is a devil incarnate as she flirts with her friend's husband, Jimmy. D. The use of foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is when author gives clues and hints about what's to happen in future. When Allison comes back from her parents' house, she explains that she loses her baby. Earlier, Jimmy's cruel speech in Act 1 expresses the wish that Allison will conceive a child and lose it. Goodbye and God bless.